The real AI risk is not only that machines become intelligent, it is that human beings become dependent on systems they do not control. If intelligence becomes something you rent, if infrastructure becomes something you cannot leave, if identity, memory, commerce, and opportunity all move through platforms you cannot inspect or govern, then the problem is bigger than automation. That is not just artificial intelligence. That is artificial dependency. And I think that is where the real danger begins. In this video, I want to explain what I mean by digital feudalism, why I think it is one of the real AI risks, why selective sovereignty is not enough, and why federated sovereignty may be the alternative we need. This is not an anti-technology argument. I am building in AI. But the question is not only whether AI becomes powerful. The question is, who controls that power? Who becomes dependent on it? And who still has agency when these systems become a part of everyday life? I am not looking at this from the top of the system. I spent decades near the bottom of it. Homelessness teaches you what exposure means. It teaches you what happens when systems have power over your life, but no real responsibility to you. That changes how you see technology. Because once you know what it means to be exposed to systems you cannot control, you do not treat AI alignment as an abstract technical puzzle. You start asking a different question. Will this system increase human capacity, or will it deepen dependency? That is the question I keep coming back to. Digital feudalism is what happens when intelligence, infrastructure, identity, commerce, memory, and agency become concentrated inside systems ordinary people cannot meaningfully inspect, contest, govern, or leave. It is not simply big tech is bad. That is too shallow. The deeper issue is dependency. If your work depends on platforms you do not control, if your visibility depends on algorithms you cannot inspect, if your business depends on systems that can change the rules overnight, if your access to intelligence depends on centralized providers, if your digital identity, memory, and tools are all mediated by a few corporate infrastructures, then your agency is being reduced. You may still have choices, but they are choices inside someone else's system. That is the feudal part. Not castles and farmland, dependency and control. A lot of AI risk conversations focus on whether machines become too smart, too autonomous, or too difficult to control. Those questions matter. But power is not only technical. Power is also structural. If the most important AI systems are controlled by a small number of companies, and everyone else has to rent access to intelligence, then we are not just building smarter tools. We're building a new dependency layer for civilization. And that dependency layer could shape work, education, business, government, knowledge, communication, and even personal decision-making. The risk is not only that AI acts against us. The risk is that AI becomes the infrastructure people must live under. That is digital feudalism. This is where the psychology of power matters. Some of the people at the top of this industry seem far too comfortable imagining themselves as pharaohs for the digital age. Centralize the infrastructure, define the rules, own the intelligence layer, control the channels of access, then let everyone else live downstream. No thanks. 4,000 years or more of that pattern is enough. Intelligence should not become another throne. AI should not become a system where a few people get sovereignty and everyone else gets dependency. Now, some people will say the answer is sovereignty. Own your own keys. Run your own node. Build your own stack. Exit the system. And to be clear, some of that matters. Personal sovereignty matters. Technical independence matters. But if sovereignty is only available to the technically capable, the wealthy, the already protected, or the already powerful, then it becomes selective sovereignty. And selective sovereignty is not enough. A society where only a few people can protect themselves from dependency is still a dependency system. It just has better exits for the privileged. That is not the answer I'm interested in. The answer has to work for more than the people already positioned to escape. The alternative is federated sovereignty. By that, I do not mean every person alone against the machine. I mean systems designed so that individuals, communities, organizations, and institutions can participate in powerful technology without surrendering all agency to a central authority. Federated sovereignty means protected participation. It means capability is distributed, not hoarded. It means intelligence can be used without forcing people into total dependency. It means governance, permissions, auditability, memory, correction, and human accountability are built into the system rather than added later as branding. This is where AI architecture matters. Because if the architecture centralizes power, the outcome will become centralized power. If the architecture preserves agency, then AI can become something different. Inside an AI system, federated sovereignty is not a slogan. It has to become design. Memory cannot simply become an opaque corporate asset. Permissions cannot be buried inside unreadable terms of service. Governance cannot be an afterthought. Auditability cannot be optional. Human correction cannot be cosmetic. And the right way to say no cannot disappear just because a system became more efficient. That is why I keep talking about alignment, memory, orchestration, governance, feedback, and symbiosis. Those are not separate topics. They are parts of the same question. Does AI preserve human agency? Or does it quietly replace it with dependency? Digital feudalism deepens dependency. Federated sovereignty increases capacity. That is the choice. AI can become another system people have to survive under, or it can become infrastructure that expands what people are able to do. My position is simple. AI should increase human capacity, not deepen dependency. That is why I am building around sovereignty, agency, ethical constraint, and human accountability. Not because those words sound good, because systems without boundaries eventually serve power more than people. If this argument matters to you, subscribe and follow the development of federated sovereignty as an alternative to digital feudalism. In the next video, I'll bring this back into the architecture and explain why AI needs governance before autonomy.